Them gains, extreme. Shit we see, extreme. Wanna know about corruption? Well, listen to what I see. An algorithmic money making, taking, flipping, fucking scheme. And if you let it, you'll get it. They'll gut you till you bleed. A lot of y'all get fucked by the bucket, yet you think it's free. Yeah, it's me. We are team, extreme.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Xtreme Gainz family? I'm Chuck, and this is Xtreme Gainz. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is Monday, January 2nd, 2023, and this is my AMC, GME, and SPY weekly update and preparation video for tomorrow and beyond. As always, I hope y'all had a great end of the week in the market last week. More importantly, I hope you made some extreme gains for yourselves. I'm going to go over some of my regulars, my snake algo method for all three tickers, and some macro comparatives. So with all of that said, let's dig in. Bear with my voice, y'all. It is raspy as hell from yelling at the football game last night, but we will get through it. Moving right into the charts currently on your screen is AMC and my current intra-week snake. AMC finished the day on Friday, regular trading hours, down 1.69%, and then down an additional 0.98% in after hours, ending the week trading at 403. My current intra-week snake that you see on your screen in red is the day prior to the previous divergence from and completion of fulfillment of the previous intra-week snake that you see in blue. Once again, last week for the 8th consecutive week in a row, price action continued to fulfill the projection from this intra-week snake dead on. You can see the location of price action within it, the continued fulfillment of it, and what the projection is from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. Now, if price action were not to continue to fulfill this thing going into this week for the 9th consecutive week, it would be interpreted as the divergence from this intra-week snake, and a new set of intra-week snakes would then be clipped and used. However, from a technical perspective, for macro confirmation, I will be looking at the following significant levels of support and resistance moving into tomorrow and beyond as well. To the downside, I'll be looking at the 395 significant level of support. A breach of that, the next level down I'll be looking at will be 355. However, back upside, the 431 will be my first level of resistance, followed by the 503 and the 547. And that is everything from that perspective on AMC. The macro comparative for AMC that I have been using and tracking for all of 2022, even a little bit of 2021, has been this blue macro double bottom from prior to the January 2021 run-up. And price action has continued to fulfill it throughout all of that time. A little more granular looking though, price action failed to continue to fulfill this upside double top projection as it was showing in this position, and instead it breached to the downside, fulfilling the red intra-week snake that I have on here as well. And I interpreted that as potentially being a downside mirrored fulfillment of that upside projection. If that were the case, and if that were right, then my expectation is to see price action continue to fulfill the intra-week snake up to this convergence point with the macro comparative, and then for price action to pick the macro comparative back up at that point for a continued upside fulfillment, therefore completing the fulfillment of this macro double bottom, or the right-hand side of this macro double bottom macro comparative. However, if price action does not continue to fulfill it in that manner, I have also looked at an alternate placement of this macro comparative, and that is horizontally compressing it and aligning the double top with the double top fulfillment there. And you can see the continued fulfillment of it that was very similar to the intra-week snakes projection and subsequent fulfillment as well. However, you can see the difference of it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in that position. And that is everything that I am looking at with AMC. Up next is GME. GME finished the day on Friday, regular trading hours, up 0.71% and then down 0.6% in after hours, ending the week trading at 1835. The current intra-week snakes are on your screen. Red, the day prior to the previous divergence, and blue, the day of the previous divergence from the previous intra-week snake. You can see that blue, the day of, has continued to fulfill its projection for 5 consecutive weeks now. The red day prior to failed to continue to fulfill up above this 2170, and I used it now in its mirrored position down here, and you can see how it projects a dead-on mirrored projection away from what the blue day of divergence is projecting in that downside manner. It's off just a little bit here. There you go. You can see it's a dead-on mirrored projection away from what the blue is projecting. So if price action were to potentially fulfill this blue day of in that mirrored manner, there's the red day prior to sitting there projecting that path as well. So you can see where price action is located within it and what the projection from both of them is moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill one of them. From a technical perspective, just like AMC for macro confirmation, I will be using the following levels. To the downside, I'll be using the 1805 as significant support. However, if that were to breach, the next level down will be this midline support between the 2 significant macro levels that price action found that midline support on last week at $17. If $17 were to breach, the next level down I'm looking at will be $15.60. However, back upside, the first level of resistance that I'll be looking at will be 1948. A breach of that, I'll be looking at this potential descending macro third around my box top method here at around the 2030 price level. If it were to invalidate that from being a level of resistance, the next level up I'll be looking at will be 2170. And that is everything that I am looking at with GME. Last but not least is SPY. SPY finished the day on Friday down 0.26% in regular trading hours and then up 0.2% in after hours, ending the week trading at 383.20. The current intra-week snakes that I have been tracking are red the day prior to and blue the day of divergence. The previous intra-week snakes that had been fulfilling for 8 consecutive weeks are over here. It is the orange as the day prior to and the blue as the day of divergence, both of which project the exact same thing coming out of this bottom formation that we're in as this day prior to. So I'm going to use this for the time being. However, I am going to keep those off to the side so they may resurface moving forward. However, I did interpret a week and a half ago as that price action potentially being a divergence from those previous intra-week snakes. Therefore, that's why I clipped these. So these are still in a state of initial placement, which I also took time in one of the update and prep videos last week to break down a little bit for you for my understanding and my implementation of initial placement regarding these intra-week snakes and how I placed them initially after I clipped them to start getting somewhat of an accurate projection and subsequent fulfillment. So in the spirit of that, the red day prior to is still in the most conservative position that I had talked about last week. Therefore, replicating candle for candle projection and subsequent fulfillment. Here's the straight up position of it. You can see the last 2 weeks have been dead on candle for candle fulfillment and where price action is located within it and what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in this straight up position and the most conservative position. Now, this also had provided candle for candle projection and fulfillment in the mirrored position as well. Right there it is. You can see it throughout all of its initial placement. You can see where the current price action is located within it and what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in its mirrored position. Now, like I said, this one and the 2 previous ones that are still kind of intact are all projecting an either breakout hard upside move or a rejection and breakdown hard downside move. So for the time being, I am only going to use this red day prior to for that hard upside and or downside move, depending upon what ends up fulfilling. However, this blue potential new day of divergence does not show that same hard volatility in either direction, so it's a little bit different. And here's its straight up position. Again, the most conservative position of it. And you can see that in that position, it originally started fulfilling dead on candle for candle throughout that first bottom. However, from that point on, this price action directly mirrored that upside projection and fulfilled in a downside manner. So either one of two things I typically do in that scenario. I either leave it in the straight up position and price action would then converge back with it with that hard upside move and fulfillment for a potential convergence back with it and continued fulfillment of it moving throughout. So with the day prior to and it's mirrored, you can see that that's where that would potentially converge back with it. So if that were the case, that is what I'd be looking for price action to converge back with it in its straight up position. However, the other thing that I have done in the past that has worked well for me is when price action mirrors like that after fulfilling consistently throughout a portion of it, that is typically my indication to put this in the mirrored position to show that continued mirrored fulfillment of it if price action were to continue to fulfill it in the mirrored position. So that's the mirrored position. You can see that fulfillment of it candle for candle now, and the beginning portion of it that was candle for candle is now mirrored. So now in that mirrored position, you can see that continued fulfillment throughout all of last week as well, and what the projection is from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in the mirrored position. I know that's a whole bunch to understand, especially if you're brand new here to the channel, which a bunch of you are. Just hang in there. It will start to make sense as we go on. I don't have enough time in these videos to really dig into it and break it down. However, that is everything that I am looking at from an intra-week snake perspective. Now, with those intra-week snake projections in mind, all of which, even the blue here, is showing a breakdown or a breakout. Now, obviously not as volatile. The upside is in this scenario, but to the downside, not as volatile as what the other intra-week snakes are projecting moving forward into tomorrow and beyond. However, it is looking like breakdown or breakout from this macro descending wedge and this macro triple bottom formation that have now formed and set up here for the next upcoming movement. So with those in mind, the macro confirmation levels that I will be using are as follows. Now, I have framed in this triple bottom as a potential double bottom formation. It's just a triple bottom in this scenario. And what I mean by the framework is this bottom significant level of support framing the bottom in and the neckline back upside framing the top in, therefore framing in all of this bottom movement. So in the spirit of that, the levels that I am looking at to the upside will be initially the breakout of that descending level of resistance for the macro descending wedge here that we have. I'll be looking for price action to breach that to the upside. If it does, the next level to the upside that I am looking at will be the 388 neckline for that bottom formation. If it were to breach that, the next level up I'm looking at will be the 392, which is the previous tops neckline down that acted as support, now potentially acting as resistance. If it were to breach the 392, I have a potential macro third as part of my box top method in here as well, that if price action were to breach all of that tomorrow, I'd be looking for interaction around the 396 price level. However, back downside, if it were to reject off of the descending level of resistance of that macro descending wedge. I would expect the macro ascending level of support to be the first potential level of support at around 379 or 380. However, a breach of that to the downside comes the critical level of support of that framework at 376.25. Then there's a tight level to the downside after that, which would be this previous double bottom neckline upside, acting as potential support now to the downside at 375. If I can get it to highlight right there at 375. And then ultimately the breach of 375 will become my macro critical level for downside fulfillment of this macro structure to potentially be fulfilled and price action get back down here to that 355, 356 critical level of support from previous price action, which in turn would set up the potential for a macro double bottom scenario for this to run back upside from there, or then the ultimate breakdown from there, which at that point would be potentially continuing to fulfill that 08-09 correction and crash, as I have tracked as well, which we're about to look at. So that is everything from a technical perspective on SPY as well. One last thing I'm going to show is the macro comparatives on the SPX chart from the previous historical crashes. First, and I have a new one for y'all I'm going to show you tonight. First and foremost will be the 2008 and 2009 correction and crash that I have been tracking here on the channel since I started the channel back in December 2021. And in its most recent fulfilling position and ongoing fulfilling position, you can see where we're at within it and what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. Now, likewise, I have been tracking this in its mirrored position as well, just in case, like I had just drawn out for you, that macro double bottom scenario were to play out and this were to end up translating to that macro reversal back upside. And in that mirrored position, you can see where price action is located. You can see the fractal mirroring throughout each portion of it and what the obvious projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it in the mirrored position. Now, the new one that I want to show you is something that I have been tracking for quite some time, and I think it's time to show it. This is from the 2000 crash. If you want to go clip it yourself and take a look, there is the macro comparative from the 2000 crash overlaid onto current SPX daily charting. You can see all of 2021, all of 2022, and now the beginning of 2023 and where price action is located within it and what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. I'm also going to share this up on Twitter as well after I publish this video. If y'all want to go contribute to that effort, I'd appreciate it. Here is the 08-09 on top of that as well to show you the difference between them moving forward and the characteristics of that different projection from both of them. My friends, my family, that is everything I have for this video, and that is everything that I have that I am looking at personally with AMC, GME, and SPY moving into tomorrow and beyond. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to smash the like button on your way out. Don't forget, I will be live here on the YouTube channel and on the Twitch channel Wednesday all day long from 9 a.m. Eastern until market close. Set a reminder. Don't forget about it. Come by, hang out with us, trade with us, bullshit with us, all that good stuff. I hope to see you all then. If I don't talk to you before the live stream, good luck in the markets tomorrow. Make some extreme gains for yourselves, and I will talk to you all on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Talk to you then, guys. Later.